We are from the Australian Museum, and specifically from the Australian Museum Archives. So just to give you some context, the Australian Museum is Australia's oldest museum. We're a natural history and anthropology museum, and we've also got the most specimens or the most objects of any museum in Australia. So we have 18 million objects in our collections. In the archives, we keep collections related to the history of the Australian Museum and all the things that go on and have gone in that museum for the last 200 years. So we have a big collection database. It's got 60,000 records in it. And one of the dimensions we are, of course, particularly interested in is time. So our first idea is that we would like a timeline. Now that sounds like something that's been done before, but we are open to this being a little bit different. So we've got our own time-based information. We've got a lot of other historical information about the museum. We've got images, and there's plenty of other open data sets out there of other cultural institutions that can perhaps go into the mix with this. So the Powerhouse, the Art Gallery, Mitchell Library, I don't know what else. Timelines on Australian science, Australian history events could all perhaps feed into this idea. So that's our pitch one.
The next idea is like a paperless picture book. The museum has digitised the field notes and the diaries of scientists and explorers, and we've transcribed a lot of these into plain text. And what we're looking for is something to display the text and the pictures together. Now, it's really evocative when displayed in this way, and it makes it a whole lot more approachable. And one of the benefits of having the plain text is that we can conform to some of the web accessibility standards that people are looking to pursue these days, and it makes it easy for people to navigate. The idea is not too different from the way in which pictures and text are presented on the Open Government, New South Wales Open Government website. Now, the third idea I'm very excited about, and it has a potential application beyond the museum and even beyond the cultural sector. What we're thinking is a tool that can help us make the right legal and ethical decisions about releasing the material that we have to a broader public audience. What we imagine is something like a decision tree that allows the users to step through the intellectual and moral questions that they need to be asking as they're doing this. Questions like, what difference does it make if someone wants to publish an image rather than just look at it? And what does it matter if it's an image or a song, a story or an idea, or whether it's more physical than it is digital? And then who owns the object? And when do you have to consult the owner as well as their community? There's a whole mess of questions. So the application should also point to where to get help. Now, we have a range of experts that we can bring to the table when developing this app. People that can answer some of these tricky questions and help explain what moral rights are and how they differ from intellectual rights. I'm really keen about this idea and think it could help a lot of people.
Okay, I'll talk about the fourth idea. I'm actually a late ring-in, so I'm not from the Australian Museum Archives team. Not that there's anything wrong with that. So the fourth idea is essentially I've had some initial internal discussion. I'm from the digital and technology team. We've had some initial internal discussions about a main or a primary Australian Museum app. The Australian Museum currently has a couple of apps on the app stores. One is a Dangerous Australians one is a Frogs Field Guide, but we've recognised the need that we actually need just a general app, primarily for on-site visitors to come in to enhance their on-site experience, but also to hopefully something they can refer back to after they've left the premises. I suppose before I get into some of the initial ideas that we're discussing, and we're still trying to finalise what best might work, the aim of this is really to ensure that the visitors that come to the Australian Museum have a great experience. They go and tell all their friends, and they also come to the Australian Museum, and so on. It's about ensuring that visitors keep coming to the museum, and it's also to keep us informed with what our visitors want from us. So In terms of who we're trying to target, we've got an audience research unit, and we've done a little bit of, we've done some demographic studies over the years to really try and work out who our target audiences are. But intuitively, with the Australian Museum, you can already say we're really looking at young families and tourists, both domestic and international. So some of the ideas which we're thinking about now are on your sheets there, locator. So a bit of a wayfinding or guided tours around the museum. There's also just the simple what's on at the museum today and where is it. Adding supplemental content, multimedia content to existing display items. I mentioned engagement, so we're sort of thinking about ideas to get visitors to provide proactive feedback on some of our collection items and displays. And the word gamification was also mentioned as well. So some way to make it fun and interactive and engaging